Hey guys, I'm Matt Hernandez, and today I'm going to show you how to light an athlete cinematically. Okay, so we are in the gym. It's a little bit of a smaller gym, but we definitely have enough to work with here. We've got a few racks, we've got plenty of weights, we've got some dumbbells behind us, we've got some turf, we've got some lights that we can get if we get down low, maybe in the back of our shot, maybe at the top. So we've got everything that we need for a cool picture of somebody working out. So I wanted to show everybody one of the biggest mistakes that my students make even after they take my workshop. They'll send me pictures and say, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I feel like I lit this the right way. And it's always, not always, but a lot of the time it's the same thing. They're not getting the light directional enough. So if you pay attention to movies, in particular, the Creed series that's one of my favorite trilogies, 3 of my favorite movies ever. Those are a really good example. So what they do is, if you notice when you watch those movies, and a lot of other movies too, they don't put the light flat on anybody. And every now and then that's okay. I actually did a video recently with my wife on headshots with natural light that was flat. If you want to check that out, we'll put that in the link below. But headshots are good flat because you want to see what the person looks like. When you're lighting something like an athlete working out or training or something like that, or like a boxer, like for the Creed movies, you want to be directional with it, because my good friend Dave Black always says, and I say this all the time to my students, if you want something to be interesting, don't light all of it. So shadows create interest, so if you have a light flat on somebody, it's not going to be as interesting as if you move it around and have it directional. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you how a lot of the students light shots once they get out on their own, when they're not with me to kind of guide them, and then the mistake that they're making with that. And then I'm going to move it a little bit, and then I'm going to move it a little bit more, just to kind of show you the look that the movies get, and then we'll kind of progress to that with the 3 shots. Okay. All right, Colby, you ready? Okay, so we want our athlete in place. Now, if this was a real shoot and he was a client, I'd probably have my assistant stand there, because I don't want the model or the client to get bored while I'm setting up the shot. You want to be ready to go once they get in there. But for this purpose, this is what we're going to have him in the shot, obviously, so we can see what we're doing. So we've got 3 racks here. We're going to shoot down them, because that's going to create interest with the metal reflecting the light. And so we're going to end up with 2 lights. We're going to start out with 1 first. So we have 2 FJ400s. And anytime I'm inside, not anytime, but most of the time, I'm going to use at least 2 lights, because you're going to need it. If you just use 1, it's only going to light what the light's pointed at, and if you're underexposing to get a dramatic picture like I typically do, it's going to leave everything else black, and that's okay, but you want some interest, so that second light's going to create that with an edge light. So we'll get to that in a second. I usually start from the back up, but we're going to start with the main light just for the purpose of showing you the mistake that people make. So I've got my angle figured out. I want to go from the side, and we could go from the front if we wanted to, but because we're only using 2 lights, I want it to be, it's not going to be symmetrical if we cross light it, so I think an angle would be better. Plus it's going to create some interest with these racks closer to the camera, some foreground interest. So this is the mistake that they make. The flat, straight on, especially with action shots. So basically, you want to think about your light and your subject and you as a triangle, but we have pretty much kind of a crooked line here. It could be, I guess, a triangle at the start of it, but I'm gonna get it in a little bit more. It's really kind of a straight line here. So we want it over to the side more. I'm gonna show you first what this looks like. All right, Kobe, go ahead and do a couple front raises for me. Good. Now do a couple side raises maybe. Good. Okay. Okay. So you can see we've got some cool stuff going on in the background with the lights. The weight racks look okay. That's not as dramatic as I want it. So you can tell the light is straight on. It's creating a shadow behind his arm on his side. And it's not showing off his muscles or anything like that, which the point of this is to do that. So, and whether or not he's lifting weights or running a football outside or playing basketball or whatever, the same principles are going to apply. You want them to look dramatic, and you want to carve out their muscles and make them look as athletic and heroic as possible. And even though he's in great shape, and you can tell by looking at this, it just doesn't do it. Like, it just doesn't wow you when you look at it. So like I said, let's think of it as a triangle. So let's move the light to the left. We obviously don't want to go to the right because he's facing this way, so we want the light to be where the direction he's facing, because that's where you're going to look. So let's move it about 45 degrees. We've got the Manny Ortiz Beauty Dish, the white one with the Fusion. That's our modifier. Okay, all right. So let's change the angle here. All right, Kobe, go ahead and do a couple more sets for me, or a couple more reps. Good. Go to the side now. Try a few different angles. And I've got my 70 to 200 on here. Okay, good. Okay. All right, so you can see that's better. It's a little more directional. We're getting some shadows like under his chest, back behind his arm, his triceps, and the back of his shoulder. So that's starting to look better. It's starting to carve his muscles out more, but it's still not quite what I want. So let's go ahead and turn this backlight on. So we've got the lights directly across from each other. We've got, like I said, two FJ400s. That one's got a deep focus reflector. We've got it up and angled down, so it's going to mimic the lights on the top on the ceiling here. So it's practical lighting that's taking a light source in the shot, and it's not actually lighting the picture or the subject, but we're putting an artificial light in there to mimic it so it looks like it is. Okay, so let's turn that on and take a few more of the same thing. Do you want to do something different, or do you want to do the same lift? Try some curls, maybe one at a time. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, so that's starting to look a lot better now. Say what? Yeah, you want to grab something, you want to do that. So he's going to get some heavier dumbbells now. So you can see that's helping because now the edge light is coming from behind, obviously. It's across from the main light. So it's lighting the edge of the rack. Now I need to probably move back a little bit so we can get more of the rack in it. But that's definitely, that's showing off his muscles more. All right, let's try this. Let me scoot back a little bit. All right, go ahead. Do a couple more. Can you do side raises with those, or is that too heavy? Good. All right, relax for a second. You said maybe. That's the other thing too, is that's another good point. When you're doing pictures like this, you want to make sure you don't wear the athlete out when they're lifting. So you can always Photoshop like a number in there if you need to. You don't want them to have like 5-pound dumbbells or anything. It needs to look decently heavy, but you don't want to have them, you know, trying to use 80s the whole time for curls or anything. That's probably going to be too much. Okay, so you can see with the edge light and the light more directional, 45 degrees, that definitely looks better. We see striations in his shoulder, like he looks a lot more muscular, a lot more athletic. So that's helping, but we're going to take it one step further. So like I said, in the movies, when you look at a lot of dramatic shots from movies like Creed and other sports movies, or any kind of drama that's dramatically lit, most of the time the light is going to be, it's going to be the camera, the subject, and then the light almost behind them. So that's what we're going to do. We're 45 degrees from where I am. We're going to move it to 45 degrees. I guess that would be, that's 90. I don't know how many degrees that is. We're gonna flip it on the other side of him, so it's actually, so he's gonna be facing straight forward. The light's gonna be on the other side now, angled back this way. So what that's gonna do is it's essentially creating two edge lights, except this one's gonna be softer because it's got diffusion on it. It's a beauty dish, it's bigger. So anytime your modifier is smaller, without diffusion, it's gonna be harder to light. Smaller to light, the harder to light. So this is the main light on his face, so we want it to be softer. So let's go ahead and move that over here. So now we basically have subject and then the lights kind of angled in about 45 degrees on each side on the other side of him. Make sure it's pointed at him. Okay. All right. Let's do the curls first, and then we can switch out and do the side raises. We'll get both of them. All right, whenever you're ready, go ahead. That's good. 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 Okay. All right, grab the other ones now. Maybe let's do some side raises again and some front raises. Now you can see, so both of those honestly look pretty good. They're both different for different, they're good for different reasons. There's more shadow now. So it does definitely make him look a little bit more cinematic, and we're getting some flare from that light just out of the frame. So that's cool too. So it's good to have variation here, to have a few different looks. And all we did was move the light a few feet, and you get two totally different looks. Now the first one, that was too flat, that was not good. The second one was decent, and the third one is decent. They're different, but that's good because you're showing them you're essentially getting a different pose without moving them around. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a set with those. Go ahead and do front first maybe. scoot back just a little bit if you can, if you don't mind. There you go. Good. Okay, do the right arm only now. Good. Try turning it when you come up, like flatten your hand out like that. There you go, good. Let's see what that looks like. Go ahead. Do the left arm now. Okay, good. Do that one straight up and down too. That may look better actually, how you were doing it before. Yeah, that's good. And do both again. Good? Okay. Let's do a couple on the side. If you want, do you need a rest or can you go ahead? Okay, all right, go ahead and do a set like that. So basically I'm just moving around now, getting different angles. Good. Okay. All right, so that's going to come down to personal preference, but he's probably going to like all of these from the second two angles, or he's going to like all of these from the second two positions of the light. So I don't know why that is, that a lot of people make that mistake. It's probably just because they panic because somebody's not setting the lights up for them whenever they come home from workshop. But they're getting the lights across from each other if they're just not putting them in the right spot. So if your shot looks flat, try moving it around and even going on the other side like this, because that, like I said, that's something that happens in movies all the time, and you might think that's going to be on the other side, like I don't want two edge lights and no main light, but because that's soft, it's going to be spread out more, so it can actually end up looking really cool. So, all right, so that does it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, I'd appreciate a like, subscribe, make sure you hit the bell so you get notified when we post new content. There's going to be a lot more to come.